afternoon and welcome to Business Prime Time. I'm Nandara Rai in New Delhi. Our top story continues to be geopolitics and India-Pakistan. In exactly 1 hour from now at 5 p.m. there will be a joint press conference held by the Army, the Air Force as well as the Navy. There will be followed thereafter by another press briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs. Earlier in the day, while talking to booth workers, Narendra Modi did say India will live, grow, win and fight as one, talking about unity over there. But let's not forget, efforts are underway to bring back the pilot that is now with Pakistan. There is international diplomatic channels at work too to make sure he is returned safely. India being quite clear, he must be returned unharmed. There is no question of consular access. The pilot must be returned to India and there will be no questions of negotiations. But like I said, 5 p.m. a joint press briefing by the Navy, the Army as well as the Air Force. The press briefing will not be live, so as soon as it's over, the media will have access to it. Let me go across to Supriya Srinate, who's been tracking all of this very closely for us. Supriya, it's been yet another eventful day. There have been certain reports of ceasefires, the Prime Minister talking about unity, and of course the integrated services briefing later on, about 60 minutes from now.
And I think that's the big takeaway from there, the integrated service briefing. One expects some amount of, reassurance as far as the public at large is concerned, that we are prepared for any eventuality with all armed forces in tow. And I think that will perhaps be the broad message of what that briefing will be. We don't want to preempt that. But I think as the day unfolded, we see some positions change and some interventions made. And you've pointed to some of them out there. I think the big takeaway this evening as we speak till such time that the public briefing does happen is the fact that India has very categorically, and very senior officials in the Ministry of External Affairs and in the defense establishment have been telling us completely off the record, and this is completely for our consumption, that India is not going to allow our Indian Air Force official in the captivity of Pakistan to become a bargaining chip. He is not going to be a negotiating tool, because remember earlier in the day you had Foreign Minister Qureshi of Pakistan say, his release depends on how India comes to the negotiating table. We've sent a very, very terse signal. We've given a dossier to Pakistan which has enough evidence and proof of JEM's involvement in the Pulwama attack. We don't and we will not allow our Indian Air Force pilot to become a negotiating tool, a bargaining chip. He has to be returned safely, he has to be returned immediately, and he has to come back unharmed, is the unequivocal message that India wants to deliver. Also remember earlier in the day, you did have President Trump say that India and Pakistan have had acrimonious relationships for decades now. They've been in the middle, they are in the middle as he spoke, and there should be some good news expected. My own sense is there will be a lot of diplomatic pressure, there will be a lot of global pressure on Pakistan to act on the release of Indian Air Force official. We are not at war with each other. We've sent a demarche. There's a dossier that has been given. Pakistan cannot not act. It will perhaps be burning a lot of its global bridges if it doesn't act right now. And on that count, India is extremely terse. No bargaining till such time the Indian Air Force official is in Pakistan's captivity.
We are going to be joined by experts, but till then, I think the messaging has also been very clear from the Indian government that forget bargaining, there is no room for talks with Pakistan also till we have the pilot back safely.
Oh, absolutely. And how do you talk to a How do you talk to a country that's attacking and aiming and targeting your military installations? I mean, remember, unlike what India did, which was a preemptive non-military exercise to bust the terror cell, and the biggest terror cell of the Jaish-e-Mohammed in a secluded region of Pakistan without any collateral damage, without any civilian casualties. We said it categorically. It was a non-military preemptive exercise. Pakistan, on the other hand, and that's the official India stance, this is the official India briefing that happened yesterday, where you did have the MEA official categorically state that Pakistan Air Force targeted some of our military installations, and which is why many people are wondering, are we going to see further escalation and what will that mean? I think we've got Prakash Reddy on the phone line with us, and thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Reddy. But before Move any forward? I think, how do you read the situation on the ground as we speak? The situation is developing very fast. We've seen some kind of a change of stance from Pakistan, first saying we will only release if India comes to the negotiating table for talks. Then, of course, saying there is some thinking within Pakistan to release our Indian Air Force official. Okay, I've got Ms. Radha Kumar, the former interlocutor, and Mr. Vishnu Prakash, the former ambassador of India to Canada. Mr. Prakash, you want to take that forward? Do you expect, and is the thinking perhaps right and obvious, that we are seeing diplomatic channels of negotiation at work here, and which is why we are seeing change in stance as we speak?
Well, we have a situation where we have an adversary which is known for doublespeak. As far as the question of escalation is concerned, we were very clear about our immediate objectives, which was to carry out counter-terror strikes at training camps which were preparing to attack India. So there was a real and imminent danger, and our immediate objectives have been achieved. We have obviously no interest, we have made it clear, categorically clear, that there is no interest in escalation. Pakistan was taken unaware, Pakistan was rattled, and let's also accept that despite being a rogue state, Pakistan is a major state. They also have a domestic constituency. So they could not but be seen to be taking some action, and now that they did that, on balance, I would see yesterday's statement by Prime Minister Imran Khan to be a conciliatory statement. He was suing for peace, and there were things which we cannot live with, but overall, what he was trying to say is that escalation is Pakistan does not want. And that is what we also want. So I am hoping, cautiously hopeful, that we will not have any escalation. You know, there is, when it comes to talks, we have been talking, initiator of talks, and we have been talking to Pakistan for the last 40 years, and we have got only hostility in return or terror in return. But there is no choice. I am a little disappointed by some of the experts who talk of, all-out war and conflict. We have to pause and understand that the implications of conflict are horrendous. It does not matter whether Pakistan loses more or India loses less, but both sides lose. So obviously we need to kind of use the diplomatic means at our disposal while keeping our powder dry, using military options as certainly in the backdrop if we have to, and try to resolve it. And last point is that our immediate need is to get back our valiant soldier, unharmed and with dignity and at the earliest.
Okay, fair point there, Vishnu Prakash. And if I could go to the former interlocutor at Jammu and Kashmir, Radha Kumar, for her views as well. Radha, I think one of the biggest clues that we got during the day today came from none other than the US President Donald Trump. You know, at the start of a press conference, which was supposed to be on why there was an abrupt halt in talks with North Korea, Donald Trump begins with the conflict between India and Pakistan, saying it's going back decades, but confirms the United States is in the middle of it, is intervening, and he is hopeful of good news in a short while. Would you say that is perhaps the biggest hint that we've got in the day today, that maybe there's de-escalation around the corner, or even if there's no de-escalation, at least the pilot is coming back home?
Well, I certainly think that the return of the pilot is the first confidence-building measure for Pakistan to take. If they want talks, then they also have to show that they have some commitment towards those talks going well. And this is the first step. Alongside other steps would also be to immediately launch an investigation into the Jaish-e-Mohammed, not only in relation to Pulwama, but it can start with Pulwama. They already are obliged under the Financial Action Task Force of the UN to take action against the Jaish and against the Lashkar, and this would be the right time for them to take credible rather than cosmetic action. My belief is that with those steps, India should respond with to the Pakistani request for talks.
Okay. Vishnu Prakash, this is an opportunity for Pakistan to show it's not a rogue state. So besides the return of the pilot, safe and sound, for something that India is in no mood to negotiate about and has issued demarch orders, could this be an opportunity for Imran Khan to show that, he is serious about forging peace, that he is serious about tackling terror, and, maybe, I know it's easier said than done, but to show the world at least that he's going to go after the terror camps?
Supriya, I wish that happens. I would be the happiest person to be proven wrong if that happens. But having served in Pakistan and having followed this country for at least more than a quarter of a century, knowing how deep they are, neck deep they are in fomenting and terrorism and providing safe haven to terrorists. And Mr. Imran Khan, even if he is well-meaning, there's a big question mark. He is nothing but a mask. He's a front to the army, which has nothing but hostility towards India. So I don't think that they are going to change tack in a hurry unless their feet are held to the fire. It's unfortunate that a country which had 20 years ago a per capita income higher than ours today is a basket case. It's a narco state, it's a terror state, it's a failing state, but the de facto power centers live in an ivory tower. They are in denial. And it will take much more for Pakistan to turn. They will try, first of all, to hoodwink the world, as they have done. They did it to the US, they have done it to Iran, Afghanistan. So I would be not, I am not optimistic of the changing course in a hurry. For us, it's a long haul. We will have to use all instruments at our disposal, especially as the public opinion, international public opinion is turning to expose Pakistan. And that will mean months and decades, months and years. But as we have both agreed, the first thing is to get a pilot back, continue with what we are doing, and to see whether there are openings to try and encourage Pakistan to see reason. It's going to be a tough path, but we are up to
Mr. Prakash, I take that point. Mr. Prakash, I take that point. This is Nayanthara Rai in the New Delhi studio. Before I go to Radha Kumar, I have one more follow-up question with reference to what you have said. You've talked about how Imran Khan is, at the hands of the army, etc., etc. Having said that, and ahead of the press conference of the Navy, the Army and the Air Force will be held jointly at 5 p.m. It's not going to be live. So once it's over, only then will we be able to play it out for the public at large. Having said that, the point I want to get at is yesterday the External Affairs Ministry said Pakistan attacked military installations. We have seen fighter jets then going down, a pilot of Indian origin being taken in captivity. Today there are once again reports of ceasefires at the LOC. How can, and I'm not propagating war, please don't get me wrong at all. We are being very responsible with our commentary here on ET Now. What I want to ask you is that would it be unreasonable to see India retaliate, or would it be reasonable? How can you have your military installations being attacked, a pilot being taken in captive, and do nothing?
Well, first of all, apologies, Nayanthara. I was not sure whom I was talking to. I was told that it is Supriya on the line. We have a country which has compulsive hostility towards India. Obviously, they had not come yesterday to shower roses on us. They had come with a hostile intent. Fortunately, their intents were spotted. Their F-16 is down. And they are suing for peace. On balance, as I said, Prime Minister Imran Khan's statement was conciliatory. What I do not buy for a minute is that please give us evidence and we will act. This is one country which lies through its teeth, and we have been giving information and evidence after evidence. I mean, here they are nurturing snakes in their backyard. They know what is going on. But this is Pakistan. And I would again repeat that hostilities are not in our interest. We are a country with a vision. We are a country with an agenda. We are heading to be the world's third largest economy. I'm not for a moment saying that that we should ignore security. Safeguarding the security, unity and integrity of India is the first thing, first and foremost thing. And through the counter-terror strikes, we have demonstrated that we have the capability, we have the ability, we have the determination, and the international support is solidly behind India. So we have to talk softly but carry a big stick, because diplomacy and defense and security and defense military strength go hand in hand. The stronger our military strength, the more effective our diplomacy. So I would advocate that we should continue using different instruments. And again, nothing is written in stone. At times I am disappointed when they say, oh, we have changed policy. Only a stone or death kind of is a final act. These are fast-moving situations. We have to kind of calibrate our responses. And I must compliment the Indian establishment, Ministry of Defense, the armed forces, the security agencies, led by the Prime Minister's office, certainly, for taking the right steps at the right time.
Correct. Okay, we're about 40 minutes away from that crucial press conference of the services. Radhakumar, if I could come to you, the future of India-Pakistan, what happens next? Would you agree that it is at the hands of what Pakistan does with the pilot? Is that the key at the moment? Even as diplomatic channels are on, major economies and major countries are asking India-Pakistan to be calm, to show restraint. The statement we saw from Donald Trump today. But would you say that at the heart of it is perhaps going to be the fate of the pilot and how Pakistan returns him and when they return it to India?
Obviously, the earlier he is returned, the better. However, everything does not hinge on that one element alone. As I said, credible action against the Jaish and the Lashkar are required. Equally, this heavy firing at the line of control and international border has to
Wouldn't
stop.
that be asking, but Radha, wouldn't that be asking for too much? I apologize for interjecting there. But you heard what Vishnu Prakash said. Wouldn't that be expecting too much from Imran Khan to take action against the Jaish, knowing the realities that exist in Pakistan, the relationship that the Prime Minister has with the army?
No, look. Comes to terrorism. Action against terrorism is an absolute requirement not only of ours but of the entire international community. There is no question of asking too much. It's another matter that they are extremely reluctant. At every point they have been extremely reluctant. The only time they have taken action is when they have been dragged kicking and screaming to take that action. And there are 2 points at which this has happened. One, through our massing troops on the international border and line of control following the parliament attack, at which point they were forced to take some actions. We did not sufficiently keep up the pressure, which should have been kept up as much in diplomatic and international channels as in military. And perhaps if we had kept up that pressure properly, we might have gotten better results. I cannot swear to that. The second, because geopolitics also intervenes at various points. The second point about this is that, again, we should have kept up the pressure in the Financial Action Task Force. We've done better over there, and I hope we will do better in days to come. But there, too, that was the only other measure through which Pakistan was forced to take some action against terrorists and their supporters. It may be weak action, but still it is some action. And I think those two lessons are very clearly in front of us at the moment. Therefore, there's no question of asking too much. You have to ask and you have to push. And if you keep pushing in a sustained and consistent manner, some results will ensue. Now, that's one point. There is another point which we must bear in mind and which we are not sufficiently discussing, which is that we also need to engage Kashmiris in order to start a peace process over there. And there I see no discussion, no thinking, and no action.
Okay. So I would, at this juncture, we're running out of time, so I would like to thank Radha Kumar as well as Vishnu Prakash for joining us here. Like I said, we're about now 35 minutes away from that joint press conference by the Army, the Air Force as well as the Navy. I would like to inform the ET Now viewers that no media house is allowed to go live with that press conference. So only once it's finished will we get access to it. No cell phones allowed inside for the press briefing either. It is slated for 5 p.m. It will be followed thereafter by a briefing of the Ministry of External Affairs. Right, moving on, I told you earlier about how Narendra Modi did address booth workers today, and of course the border tension with Pakistan was the subject of his address to the booth workers, which was beamed live. Here is an edited excerpt of Narendra Modi talking about unity and not letting any one enemy derail India.
इस समय देश की भावनाएं एक अलग स्तर पर है। देश का वीर जवान सीमा पर और सीमा के पार भी अपना पराक्रम दिखा रहा है। दुनिया हमारे कलेक्टिव विल को देख रही है। हमारी सेनाओं के सामर्थ्य पर हमें भरोसा है। कुछ कर गुजरने की चाह, खुद पर और सरकार पर अभूतपूर्व विश्वास, यही हमारी पूंजी है। साथियों, आज भारत एक ऐसे पड़ाव पर है जहां से एक वैभवशाली, मजबूत भारत हमें आज सामने दिख रहा है।